So it is 2:04, so we will get started. Hi, everybody. I'm Lisa Walker from Hyattsville. And this is a special program we brainstormed last time about bringing recipes that we've had in our family to people on the list, having you all join in as speakers, adders, if you will, if you have them, if you have recipes from your family, and just focusing on the fact that cooking and gathering is an important thing for us in communities. So as we go along, I think we're going to ask people to talk about the recipes they've already added, but we really welcome you to jump in at any point. We're going to start out with Loretta, who will start the program, but I'm going to first just do a little show and tell about corridor conversations. This program started in 2021 during COVID when we couldn't get together in person. And we have some huge number of programs that we videotape or that we keep. They're on record, and we have them on our website and on our YouTube channel. So you can see those on our links to it on our website, HyattsvilleAgingInPlace.org. And I think the other organizations that sponsor this program also link to them. With this program started with all of the various villages along Route 1, Hyattsville Aging in Place, Helping Hands University Park, Neighbors Helping Neighbors, College Park, Explorations on Aging in College Park. And those people, Marianne and me and Carter and Bonnie McClellan, are still involved in this program. And our ideas are we feature creative, interesting people from the Route 1 corridor to bring what they're doing to everybody else along the corridor. We do this once a month, generally at the end of the month. And so I'm not going to say anything more at this point. We are recording it. It will be on our website at the end of the session. We do not yet know what the October meeting is going to be about. But we've been brainstorming about it here before getting started. And I'm going to toss the microphone to Loretta, whose idea largely was hers, and she'll talk about some of the recipes she has and why she thinks it's important.
Thank you, Lisa. Hi, I'm Loretta Foster, and we're actually new in the area. We live in University Park, and we moved here because our family lives here. Teresa Flick, and she is on the call. Thanks, Teresa. And so it's wonderful to be down in the area. We're from Howard County, Columbia. So I want to thank everyone, all the participants, and those who sent recipes, those who will be sharing the recipes, and the committees that brought it together, Hyattsville Aging in Place, and also the Route 1 Corridor Committee. Carter, thank you for all your technology. So I just want to say a couple of things. This is not a monologue, it will be a dialogue, okay? It's not going to be a monologue, it'll be interactive, and as much as we can. And to let you know, I'm not a culinary expert, and I'm not a chef, I'm not an anthropologist, but I'm someone who likes to bring people together. I like to share cultures, foods, blending, break bread together. I love the whole concepts, sharing a meal to build companionship, friendship, connecting, social bonding, trust, helping others when they need it, if they're in the hospital or if they're home, that sort of thing. There's so many different dishes, and we were so lucky. I heard there were 25 in the our little recipe book, 25, so it's awesome. So many of us have different cultures, family, where we came from, and those are the sorts of things I thought would be really, really nice to share. So if you think about like different spices that are used, I always find it interesting that you can take two ingredients like chicken and rice, and you see that in Mexican food and you see it in Chinese food, but because of different spices, it's just incredible that you can use just the two ingredients and create these different sorts of ethnic, diverse foods. I think of the spice trail and how the trading the spices, bringing food, those sorts of things that people did to learn about different spices, moving them from one region to the other. So my thing that I love to make is my signature dish is Kugel. And this was my mother's recipe. It's in the booklet. I didn't look, but I'm sure it is. And that would be Blanche, my mother, Blanche's Kugel. And I've made that for many, many years. It is a Yiddish Jewish cooking, and it's actually like a casserole, okay? And you use noodles. Some have used potatoes, but really traditionally for the Ashkenazi Jewish, which is what I'm from, Ashkenazi, and that's kind of like a subgroup. There's also versus Sephardic Jewish. And it's interesting because in Ashkenazi, that's the recipe that I shared, it's like a sweet noodle pudding. Whereas in Sephardic, they're more like Ashkenazi is more like the Eastern European, and the Sephardic would be more the Iberian Peninsula, the Middle East. So it's a kugel, so that means a sphere or a globe, and it was baked in the round, so that's why it was called a kugel. And it's funny because our younger daughter, who is not on the call, I don't see her, but she's in Sweden, and she's married to an Israeli. So what happened was when they were getting married, we had a big party over in Israel, okay, and then they were going to come here to the US for the wedding. So before I wanted to get everything ready, and I made these two very large kugels, kugels, put them in the freezer. And then I realized, and I found out that they, being Sephardic, they heard about kugel noodle, but they're more rice-based. So I thought that was really funny, really, really funny. But so the Jewish cooks in Germany, they were using like bread and flour for the kugel, and the Jewish roots in Germany, they replaced it with the bread with noodles, and they added eggs and cheese and that sort of thing. So the noodles that I use are I have a visual here, you can see it, the wide egg noodles. That's what I mean by the noodles. However, I've had to improvise because when I travel to Sweden to prepare it for the family, they don't have this. We weren't able to find it, but it's something, there's an Italian noodle that's really similar, and it works like a flat, wide noodle. And so these things do evolve. So the Jewish roots of Germany, they used the noodles, the eggs, and the cheese. And then in Poland, they added raisins and cinnamon and that. Now in Romanian, which is my many relatives are from Romania, and they called it, translated to macaroni pudding. So anyway, they do make savory types. If you've ever been into any of the Jewish markets, they do have kugels that would be more savory, like spinach or potato or that type of thing. But for my signature dish would be the Lakshan kugel. And that's what I like to do. Like if I know if someone is getting ready to have surgery or what have you, I do like to bring it there. And there are some variations that, that's in the recipe. I've added different sorts of things along the way. Apricots instead of raisins, things like that. But that's my signature recipe. So I'd love to be able to hear from you all, because again, I don't want this to be a monologue, it is a dialogue. So like how many of you would like emailed, so there's a recipe in our booklet? How many of you? Okay, good, okay.
So I have a question. So this booklet is all the recipes that were just contributed this year
Yes,
since you announced it?
to my knowledge, yeah. And it is a pretty diverse sampling of different sorts of things. And there's 25, we said, 25 in there. So I'm very excited.
25 pages.
And how do we get the booklet?
It's in the chat there. You can download it from there. And this is just the first draft. So if somebody sees a typo or sends us some additional things, we're going to add to it. And there was a question about how you can save it. If you highlight over it, there's like a little down pointing arrow, and that'll let you, should allow you to save it to your computer locally. Or if when it opens, depending on what program it opens in, you should be able to save it from there.
Oh, okay, thank you for talking through that. That was good. I just was able to do it inside of a split second. Does anybody want to share their recipes? Don't be shy. Okay, we can do it. Anybody? Lisa, did you say?
I
Someone
was
raised
just trying to say that I had to right click on the thing that says about the recipe book to get the download link.
Okay. Yeah, different systems will be a little different probably, but thank you for that.
Just in case somebody else needed to do that.
And just today I was cooking chicken and zucchini.
Was that recipe submitted to the, is it in the booklet?
I didn't know there was a booklet.
Oh, okay, that's okay. That's okay.
And my family's Jewish as well.
Yeah, and do you make lakshan kugel or?
I've made some kugel,
Yeah.
but not recently. I have other recipes I use.
Loretta,
Yes.
is the kugel, Lakshan kugel, is it a side dish or is it a dessert?
Right, that's a really good question. Some people, I always say it's a side dish. I try not to put too much sugar in it. And it's funny because my husband just asked me that the other day. But I think of it more of a side dish.
Do you ever put vegetables with it or only fruit?
I would only put fruit in for mine because it is sweet. It is, there are kugels, which is that round baked casserole type, that you can use vegetables, carrot, spinach. You can definitely use vegetables to make a kugel.
I've seen savory recipes or
Okay.
recipes for savory kugel.
Yeah,
I haven't ever made a kugel or eaten one, I don't think.
really?
And I'm Jewish.
Okay, we are going to have to fix that. We're going to have to fix that.
Bad we didn't have a tasting.
I know.
Yeah.
Since
So
I'm
Loretta,
okay, sorry. Go ahead.
no, go ahead.
Well, I don't know if I just turned in some recipes yesterday, I think. So they probably didn't make it into this booklet, I'm guessing.
I did forward it right away, so it may have. I'm not quite sure. I didn't really look through the booklet yet, but I did forward that. Thank you. There was one you said that was your grandmother's, I think. Your grandmother's.
The Mexican wedding cakes was well, she didn't create the recipe. She probably got it from someplace else. And I think you can Google Mexican wedding cakes, but that was the recipe that my grandmother used. And she just always had a gigantic baggie full of them in the cupboard, always full. So I know when I went to her house that I would, and they're so delicious. They melt in your mouth. I guess maybe because of the powdered sugar and how much sugar, but it has a lot of walnuts. So if you have a nut allergy, that wouldn't work for you. I also submitted a Korean chicken wing recipe. Don't know if it made it in. I've made that recipe at least 50 times, and everybody who eats it loves it. If you're into chicken wings, it's probably my favorite chicken wings. And it's simple. It's very, very simple. And you just, after you fry it with rolled in flour, you just dip it into this glaze, and it's the glaze that just makes the whole thing. And the other thing I submitted was a banana bread recipe that, again, I've made that banana bread 50 times or more. And I always say it's more like cake than bread. It's very, very moist. It's super, super delicious. And I urge you all to try it if you like banana bread. I grew
just,
up in Honolulu. I'm sorry, Lisa, I keep talking over you. I grew up in Honolulu, so my taste buds run to the Korean chicken wing and banana bread, and Asian spices, a lot, because there's lots of Asian influence in Hawaii, um, and Hawaiian food. But anyway, sorry. Go ahead, Lisa Walker.
I'm just saying that Carter has added this into the chat. So your Mexican wedding cake, it's not wedding cakes, but wedding cake is on page 22. The Korean chicken wings is on page 9, and the banana bread is on page 18. And he just, and it's not Mexican wedding cake.
Yeah, that's cute. Thank you. And someone's trying to shed pounds. Well, these wouldn't be for you. Yeah, no, or very, very minimal, like little bites. When you're shedding pounds, you shouldn't restrict yourself from eating anything, but just eat a little bit of it and eat more fruits and vegetables and lean proteins. All right.
And exercise. Yeah.
Susan posted about how, thank you for concurring there. Interesting, noodles can't be found in Sweden, but in general, I believe noodles, generally speaking, essentially originated in the Far East and got at least as far as Italy, but maybe not Sweden. Thank you. So what we do is my daughter, who's in Sweden, will buy this Italian type that it comes in a box and it's kind of like rolled up in a ball, like, and I just kind of, the kids and I will just kind of crush it. We'll crush it so that they won't be like really, really long noodles. It'll be more, they're shorter. So that's always fun.
Is
And
it,
that's interesting as a substitute. I mean, that you know that you're using kind of the Italian noodle, but I just knew that from kind of the trades and stuff that a lot of the Far East stuff, the kind of food items, they got as far as the Mediterranean, but they didn't get they didn't go further north. So
Very good. Thank you so much for sharing that. So anybody else have any recipes they want to share or talk about? Just John.
I kind of created, there's a way I have of making soup, and there are lots of variations, so it's a little hard to figure out how to write it down, although I've thought about it. I always start with onion and garlic and usually celery, but then you can add just like anything you want in terms of, sometimes I do more like leek potatoes, turnips, sort of more. One time I walked in this store and it's like, I want to do root vegetables, which is really unusual for me. So you can just, add any vegetables you want, really. I usually like to think about color, so I usually add some corn and carrots, but I do sweet potatoes, some kind of green, and then sometimes I do it more like tomato-based with beans, or add tofu. I am vegetarian, but you could add any kind of meat you want. So I've been trying to kind of think about how to write that down, because it really is very flexible. But I think that what makes it is the onion and garlic base. I have a big pot also, so if you have a smaller pot, it's kind of hard to figure out how to say how much to do. And I like the just thyme and bay leaf seasoning usually, but at the end, if it seems, especially if I have tomatoes, I would use oregano and basil, some of that. Anyway, so if I figure out how to write that into a recipe, I could submit it.
Thank you, Lisa. I love the idea of how you can start with a base and then just add different spices to kind of tailor it to what you want. It also makes me think of something that I was reading about for farm aid. It's a little off topic, but let me put it in right now. That for farm aid, helping farmers kind of preparing foods that are seasonal. So your root vegetables, what have your sweet potatoes, your carrots, and those sorts of things, and making a batch and then being able to share it with neighbors or somebody who's going through something, someone who's getting over an illness or what have you. Those sorts of things kind of within your own tribe, your own area. So I love that. That was actually a way to help the farmers too.
The sharing is a little tricky because you don't know what people's preferences are,
Right. So
or
you're
you
so
know
right. Yeah, you're
what
so
they
right.
can eat or what they can't eat. But yeah,
Absolutely.
I
you
have a
know,
question.
mhm.
I'll put my hand down. Lisa, for you, Lisa, what do you use for the liquid? Do you use chicken broth or water?
I'm vegetarian. I just add water.
And you find it is enough
Oh,
flavor?
absolutely. The onions and the garlic. And I think I've done it sometimes. It's really, I guess it's the onions. And the vegetables all cooking together, they really add a lot of flavor. You should try it. You really don't have to have meat, in my opinion. I do add a little salt usually too, but
Lisa, I
yeah.
was just going to say this is a perfect time to make that because you go to the farmer's market and you buy everything. And I do the same thing, only I use tomato juice as a base and then water it down. But everything from the farmer's market, I dump everything in there. And it's strictly vegetarian, and you can make it gluten-free, of course, or add some of Loretta's noodles. Loretta, I need to ask you too, where do you buy those noodles? I look for those big flat noodles all the time, can't find them.
I just bought these three for $5. Three for $5. At one of the grocery stores. Let's see, I've been running around so much this week. I think it was actually at the Giant. I think it was
Oh,
a
no
Giant.
kidding. Okay.
3 for $5, right. So
Yeah,
I
so
did,
with,
I'm sorry.
I often also put a grain in, like rice or barley or something. But when I started needing to watch my blood sugar, which I actually don't need to do now, but I stopped putting that in. I do tend to I call it super rolls because I like them kind of thick. But yeah, so you can put your variety of protein, your variety of grain if you want it. Yeah.
Right. And these soups, you can make them in a big batch and you can freeze them. I'm sure that you do all that too. I know that Teresa provided to me a lentil soup recipe, and it's excellent. It's in the book. I didn't see it myself, but I'm sure it's in there. And one thing that for that, I never thought of doing it, but taking an immersion blender and at the end of it, so you have it thickens it, seems to thicken it, the immersion blender. I do want to add, I put in the chat, oh, thanks, Carter. I put in the chat Elderly Eats, and there is a recipe in there for that our chef, Zach created for us. He's a college student. He has his own business. Some of you might have read about it in the WTOP news. And so we brought Zach out here a couple of months ago, and he prepared meals here. And right now he's in Korea. Okay, he's studying abroad, but he shared a recipe, and that too is in the book. It was a recipe of porridge, Korean, yes, vegetable porridge, page 12. And his mother always made it for him, and he started making it for his grandmother when she couldn't chew as well. So Zach will actually be back after this semester, and he's a student at George Mason, and he's willing to come to Maryland. So I definitely want to bring him back here because I thought it was great. That he did an excellent job. So, okay. Anybody else want to share?
I just add a quick thing. My German grandmother used to make kugel. And it sounds I didn't see your recipe, but it sounds very similar. And that was always a treat when we went to grandma's. But we went to grandma's in the middle of the summer, excuse me, before air conditioning and all of that. And it was a little heavy, but it was delicious.
Yeah, it's great. I've made it when I go to travel. I made it for family friends that we had in England, and he said, "Oh, it reminded him so much of what his grandmother used to make." He's from Scotland. He was from Scotland, and he just loved it. Everybody seems to enjoy it, so I like to share it.
I just want to jump in and say I make a lot of vegetarian soups, and I use an immersion blender all the time. And the one thing you need to remember before you immerse that little blender stick in there is if you have used a bay leaf, take it out first.
Good to know. Good to
Good
know.
point.
Thank you.
Another tip on the immersion blender is that you probably ought to hold it over the sink too, because I've had overflows many times and when my liquid was way more than what my pot was going to hold. So, and
The immersion,
people probably know that, but I was not thinking. So,
the immersion blender doesn't like kale, or it likes to collect kale and greens in all those little blades. That's got to be the best thing ever invented, is that immersion blender. It's terrific.
Yep. Yep.
But isn't it interesting how all cultures all over the world, it's always you get together over a meal. You wouldn't think of just saying to somebody, come over and let's just talk, come over and eat, or something. It's just lovely. And the Muslims are terrific about that. I mean, you cannot walk by without a mint tea and something that they've made, and it can be the last slice of bread they have, but by darn, they're going to share it. It's really lovely way to get together.
You're so right. When we had a neighbor up in when we were in Howard County, and I went down there to drop off something, but I didn't realize they were from Afghanistan. I didn't realize she was going to invite me in and make a lot of prepare eggs. Oh, and I think this was actually during a time where she couldn't eat. It must have been Ramadan that she was celebrating, but she wanted for me to eat. And she was preparing lots of food. So, you're right.
The only other trick I've learned is that I saute the onions and garlic and celery first. And whenever I add the cold water, the vegetables will, like if the celery's still a little bit crisp, it will stay crisp no matter how much I cook it. If I add cold water at that point, then those whatever's being sauteed will stay with that firmness, which I thought was really interesting, and sometimes is kind of nice.
Careful putting cold water into something that's sauteing, because that hot oil, it can spew up. But if your pot's deep enough, there's no problem with that.
Just today, I was making chicken and zucchini because my husband loves it, and it's healthy.
It's really great.
How do you make it?
what spices, matey?
I have various things down in the kitchen that I use to do it. I have a spice blend that I love. If I were sitting in my kitchen rather than upstairs,
You know what it is.
show it to you.
Okay. That's great.
So do you saute the zucchini or boil it or?
I use some olive oil.
Mm-hmm.
Then I put the chicken in and mix the zucchini in and put them in the oven.
Mm.
If I was downstairs in my kitchen, I could show it to you.
So is it like a casserole?
Sort of.
Because I make stovetop stuff like that with chicken and vegetables. And whenever I cook zucchini, I mean, I'm always doing it kind of in a frying pan or stir frying it. I always overcook the zucchini.
I've been putting it
Not
all in the oven.
I'm sorry, all of it in the oven?
Yeah.
All at the same time? The chicken and the zucchini?
Yes. I mix the chicken and zucchini, and it's very healthy. It's healthy and it's delicious.
Is your
Oh,
recipe?
and I have sauces. I have some Heinz 57 sauce and some, what's his sweetener? I just cooked it today.
Is it agave?
My brain cramp. It's
Agave or honey or?
honey. Yeah, right. I was chicken zucchini and honey,
Wow.
Sounds
and it's
delicious.
healthy.
Yes, that's nice.
Right. I don't think it's in the book yet, matey, so maybe you should send it to us, the recipe.
Okay, I have it downstairs. It's actually on a
Card.
bottle
Oh,
that's the original recipe, I guess.
Linda, have you tried zucchini, slicing it the lengthwise And I put it on parchment paper on a sheet pan and then add whatever else, like if I'm doing fish or something, or chicken, I think you could do, and just roast it at 400 or something with garlic and olive oil and stuff. And you can judge how quickly it's getting done. And that works well. That's my favorite thing. Put everything on a sheet pan and call it dinner. You know, it's but roasted like that is a really interesting way to try it.
Sounds delicious.
Yeah, I kind of agree with that with some of the with texture on some vegetables. I mean, kind of just to save the crispness, to put them in like an air fryer. But yeah, like you're saying, put that olive oil and some spices on it, and then it saves that texture.
I roast cauliflower a lot in my air fryer.
Mm.
That's so delicious that way.
I roast both cauliflower and broccoli that way with just salt and pepper and olive oil on a sheet pan with whatever else I'm cooking, Marianne.
Throw a little Parmesan on the cauliflower too, yeah.
Yeah, right.
And then you just throw I never used parchment paper, and by some strange coincidence, I noticed I had 3 rolls in my pantry. So now it's just wonderful because you don't even have to wash the pan. You just throw the parchment paper away and you're good to go. Unless you use too much olive oil, which I do, because it's good for you.
Right. And then you can use aluminum foil instead, and that it won't soak through the aluminum foil. It's probably not as climate healthy, but
I'm tempted to go downstairs and go into the kitchen with my food.
right.
But I'm not.
So I added 2 recipes to the book, which really are they're family recipes in the sense that they're my mother's, and they were given to me by my sisters. So it allowed me to have a really long sort of fun conversation with my 2 sisters. They're a little bit younger than I am, and so they somehow or other, I missed all the desserts cooking when I was younger, but they managed to have my mother do that. So I put in cinnamon buns, which is actually from the Settlement House cookbook, which uses a cooking recipe for the flour base, and includes walnuts instead of pecans because my mother hated pecans, and cinnamon. And you can put raisins in as well, and just roll them up as if you were and cut them and then bake them. It's a really simple recipe. The nice thing about this is my sister has used it not only for herself, but also for her children and then for her grandchildren. So that recipe is passed down through the ages. The other one, I mean, and it's straight out of she sent me the Settlement House cookbook recipe. So it's straight out of that cookbook, which was probably from the 20s or 30s.
1901.
1901. Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you very much. And that's in the book. The other one is, I think, a recipe my mother made up for my sister when she was about 5 and she wanted to learn how to bake. And it basically is chocolate pudding pie, in which you take a chocolate pudding box and mix up the chocolate pudding, and you find your favorite vanilla wafer cookies, and you line the pie pan with it and around the side and dump the pudding on top and stick it in the refrigerator. And my sister was like feeling very successful as a 5-year-old for making this. And she used to take it to our next door neighbors all the time, who were much older, and they just thought it was marvelous. So it's a funny story, a cute story. And the other thing is that the cookies that she used were those scalloped vanilla cookies. I don't know if you remember them. They had a hole in the middle. And so my first question to her was, and I've got a picture on my cell phone, so I'll show you, was, well, what happens when the pudding goes through the hole in the cookie? And my sister said, well, I was 5. I have no idea. So I don't know either, but they're in the cookbook as well. There they are. They're on page 22, and Annie's chocolate cookie wafer pie is on page 16.
It's a
And somebody also asked, how do we get the book? So we're not going to print it because it's 25 pages and we can't print it, but we are putting it, we'll put it on our website, and it is in the chat, and you can download it from the chat and save it to your computer. There's a little arrow on the thing for the, it's called A Taste of Route One. There's a little arrow where the a PDF sign is. You just click on that. It should ask you where to save it on your computer.
And I will email it to everybody who registered for this when we send out the video later in the week.
But we want to get any other recipes people want to send in that hadn't sent them in. So Mady, that recipe that you have, you should send it.
And also, if you didn't pre-register for this, but you were sent the link, please go ahead and put your email into the chat, or send it to me directly in the chat, and I will make sure to add you to get the recording and the an emailing copy of the booklet.
And I can do several recipes. I can write them down and send them.
Great.
I don't know if just one more comment about my recipes. I've never made them. Number one, I don't know how to bake. I'm pathetic. My sisters and I, and you probably know this yourself. My sisters are younger than I am, and we live in different parts of the country. And they have very different childhoods from me. They're like a year apart. And they were very close when they were young. And they're both bakers. And so they have they're able to, just throw flour on a drain board and roll a pie crust, which I just find is magic. Because I don't know how to do it. Or I've never figured out how to do it. But, it was really great having this conversation with my sisters. It was fun.
I'd like to hear a little bit more about roasting vegetables, and if you need to sort of eat them right away, or if they can be stored, or I guess not frozen, probably.
So it's not in this, but I could probably grab and put together. One of my wife's favorite things is this. It's called bistro salad, is I think how the recipe was published. But it's essentially like a ton of roasted root vegetables, and then served with arugula and like a mustard-based dressing. But it's really tasty. But it's onions, sweet potato, white potatoes. I've thrown sunchoke in there sometimes. Not really a big fan of turnips. Celeriac was a little bit too heavy for it, or strongly flavored. But we'll roast up like maybe 2 sheet pans of just diced up root vegetables like that, and don't eat it all at once. It stays in the fridge fine, and you can either reheat on the stovetop or in the microwave, or just eat it cold. They're great.
So do you like put all that in a bowl and pour a little olive oil over it and just kind of toss it together, and then
Toss it with some olive oil. I like to use a little smoked paprika with it too, and salt, and then just roast it, like 450 for 40 minutes or so till the pieces. Some of them are have a little char on them, but everything's soft and tasty.
Yeah.
So is that usually the temperature you roast vegetables at? Like if it was zucchini or Brussels sprouts or something, would be 450?
Cruciferous ones and root ones, I would roast usually 450, somewhere between 375 and 450. And sometimes I'll start higher and lower it, or vice versa, if it feels like it's taking too long to cook. For something softer like zucchini or tomatoes, it probably would be more around 350. I would probably use.
And less than 40 minutes. I do zucchini at 425 for maybe I don't know, 15, 20 minutes.
My
And it
zucchini
gets,
today was very hard,
Hmm.
it's what?
but fortunately I slice it sideways
Yeah.
and then I put all the other things on top of it, and then the flavors mix.
Yeah. I also add, Lisa, I add pepper and garlic powder as well to the mix. And I do toss it in a bowl. I find it's easier to get everything covered if you've got a bowl and you just are tossing it that way.
And
My
it's a
air
great way.
fryer. Go on.
And
was
I
just
haven't
gonna say-
used, go ahead.
Sorry, Lisa, go ahead.
I was just going to say, yes, you can use an air fryer. I've not done that. Linda said she's done that before. I have an air fryer and I don't use it very often. I just stick the stuff in the oven at 375.
My
For
air
50
fryer
and for,
looks
yeah.
like it looks like a toaster oven. It's that kind of air fryer. It has a door and you pull out the shelf, and it only goes up to 400. That's the highest it goes up. And the cauliflower takes 12 minutes
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
at 400.
I have to tell you, all this discussion is making me hungry.
Yeah. And you've got food downstairs too. You could go down and
I
bring
am
some up.
going to when this is over because I've been cooking it. I haven't been eating it. I've been cooking all morning.
I just want to put in another plug for roasted vegetables in that it saves all the nutrients. So you're not boiling it or steaming it or anything. So all the goodies are still in there after you roast it. Unless it goes off into the netherworld somewhere, but I don't think so.
I am looking for more ways to eat more different kinds of vegetables. In the fall and winter, those soups allow me a lot of variety. And
Mhm.
then I guess roasting also is better for the fall and winter, so you're not heating up the house in the summertime.
Right.
But
Right.
I
we
have
might
to
something to
I have to-
experiment with.
Go ahead.
That's all.
I have to confess, I've been eating a lot of keto foods because I'm trying to shed pounds. I don't say lose weight because that makes it sound like I want it back.
Yes, and cauliflower and broccoli are totally keto. Yeah. Unfortunately, potatoes are not, and noodles are not. So that sort of makes me a little upset. And I violate my keto rules all the time.
One thing we love to do as an alternative to potato chips, we do roasted kale. So
Yes.
I could submit that recipe. It's quite easy. So you
Yes.
take the middle stem out of the kale, cut the kale into big pieces, put it all in a very large bowl, toss it with some olive oil and pepper. We put the salt on at the end because otherwise the salt affects the moisture of it. And we roast it, I believe it's like 260 for about 30 minutes. Depends on how wet or dry the kale is. And oh gosh, it's delicious. Really good. And it has to be healthy. It
You
has to be healthier than potato chips.
said 260?
Yeah.
Okay, and then adding salt, like even
At
after
the
it's
end.
roasted, you add salt?
Yeah.
Mhm.
That's
You know,
cool.
that
I've
reminds
never,
me, I've opened a can of, I've seen recipes for garbanzo beans, like crispy garbanzo beans that you roast them in the oven and they're supposed to be a nice snack. And I've tried it a few times and I haven't figured it out yet because they're not crispy, and maybe because I put the salt on it or something. But I don't know. Has anybody tried doing that?
I tried it once a
too,
long time
Linda, and
ago.
I agree. It didn't come out like I expected.
I
You
didn't
know,
like
you
it
can
either.
always go online and ask.
Well, that's where I get the recipes from, and either I'm not following them correctly, which is possible, or something. I don't know.
I would say in that instance, try raising the heat a little bit or extending the time and doing both. Because, every oven can vary. You can have cold spots, hot spots. What registers as 375 for you may actually, or what the dial says is 375, maybe a little bit lower, maybe a little bit higher. So just, if it's not getting as crisp as you want, time and heat are basically your friends.
Thank you.
Mhm.
I've had the same problem with kale, trying to make kale chips. I have just never, they've either come out totally blackened, which I mean, maybe blackened kale is a good idea, but I didn't like it. Or they just don't crisp up. So I'd like to see your recipe. That'd be great.
You may be adding the salt beforehand.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think that's why we ended up going with lower heat for a longer time
Mhm.
rather than higher heat for shorter time.
And adding the
Right.
salt later.
Yep.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
right,
Mm,
I'll submit it.
Thank you.
great.
Susan, it looked like you were going to say something.
I was just gonna, because we were talking a little bit about, although I love noodles and starch and potatoes and all the rest, I'm also trying to substitute when I can. So, in the fall, it's kind of nice to have casseroles and that type of thing. You often have like a rice or a noodle, but I have found that some form of bean can actually be used as a substitute and absorb some of the flavor that you would get from like that you would have in a casserole. So I think that's a thought. I mean, you can Google around to see the best way to do it, but like even a refried bean, I mean, it's like a little bit of fat on some of this, but still, you can use it as a base for a casserole.
It's great.
That
Yeah.
reminds me, I've developed a taste for riced cauliflower. And I use that in stir fries and stuff a lot, and it soaks up the flavors of whatever flavors in. And I don't eat rice or noodles or anything with it, and I'm hoping I'm saving some calories. But I didn't like
This
it when
be in the book? Will that be in the book?
it's not in the book. I don't have an official recipe. I just like throw it, I buy it,
It's something you buy, the riced cauliflower, right?
whatever's on sale.
Or you can just cut it up. Cut your own florets
Right,
up.
cauliflower, perhaps. That's a bit more than, yeah, maybe.
But it doesn't absorb water like a grain would, so it wouldn't necessarily thicken something, but
It's so, they're really tiny,
good.
so they're,
Mhm.
it gets covered. I just had it last night too, as a leftover. It was actually better the next day with the chicken stir fry thing. Feeling righteous about not eating any rice or noodles.
Right.
Have you all ever added like flaxseed to a soup to thicken it?
No, but I've used
Works
flaxseed
great.
in breads.
What?
In bread.
It works.
Mm-hmm.
In the chat, Karen Brown, she just took the words out of my mouth. I was thinking about spaghetti squash also, how that's a good substitute for the noodles.
Yep.
At first, when I tried spaghetti squash, I was afraid it was kind of like daunting, the idea of cutting it. And then I realized, well, it wasn't that bad. It wasn't that bad. It wasn't that difficult for me.
And
I also learned, I'm sorry, Carter, go ahead.
yeah, I was going to say with spaghetti squash, one thing to do is cut it parallel to the stem instead of perpendicular to the stem so that it gives you longer strands out of the squash than if you cut it lengthwise.
Then there's also zoodles to make zucchini noodles. It's more helpful to have a spiralizer,
Yeah.
but they're wonderful, especially when you
Yeah.
load it up with other stuff. And the other thing I was going to say was for any recipes that call for butternut squash, there's a squash, Mom's has it and Asian markets have it called kaboka, and you do not need to peel it, and it's wonderful.
Well, I was just going to say you actually don't have to peel butternut squash either, or acorn
I've heard
squash.
that, but I've never tried not peeling
Yeah,
it.
you really, once they're cooked, the skins are very tender and you can eat them
Good to know.
for both acorn and butternut. In fact, I just made a soup with butternut squash that way.
Yesterday, I made salmon croquettes.
I used to
Oh.
have that as a kid. Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you put crackers with it? I mean, what do you put with it to
Yes,
hold it together?
a lot of
Crackers?
different- I can put that in the recipe.
Okay.
And I don't know where I got it from. Probably my mother.
I remember having that growing up.
I did not know that about butternut and acorn squash. I might try eating it again. I don't because it's too much of a pain to
So
cut.
hard. Yeah.
And
They
plus the
have those
nutrients
little,
and oh yeah. So
I was just gonna say, they have those little tiny butternut squashes. Um, they have a little different name at the farmer's market.
I mean,
The delicata squash, you definitely can eat the skin as well.
Yes.
Yeah.
I have a strange question. Carter, how did you get so smart on so many different things? It's not just
harder
food.
conversations. I just learn as I go.
Oh,
No, I mean, and I'll just take this opportunity to jump in and throw in the recipes I threw into this. I'm originally from Louisiana. My family roots go back there till before the Spanish took it over from the French. And so, you know, Creole cooking is just part of my background and what I grew up with from my grandmother, my mom. If I ask my mother, usually she's saying, just look in the River Roads recipes, which damn, it's not working
Oh,
well,
I have that. Yeah.
or Plantation Cookbook. Both are like by the Junior League in New Orleans or similar sorts of groups. But what I put in here, and Lisa, you might enjoy this because there are two vegetarian ones, which is not common for Louisiana, but I've been vegetarian since college, so I have to adapt. But one of them is a vegetarian version of a jambalaya. Jambalaya, usually it's done with like chicken and sausage and stuff, but it's a rice-based pilaf sort of a dish that cooks up with a bunch of vegetables and things. This substitutes in some kidney beans and butter beans to give you a little extra oomph to it. But it's really quick and simple, just sort of, sauteing up the trinity of bell pepper, onion, and celery, adding in garlic. And then, it's got some tomatoes in a couple of different forms, paste and sauce and tomatoes. The sort of spices you're using are marjoram and thyme and bay leaf. And then, usually use a Creole seasoning mix with it as well, and then rice, long grain rice. And it all just, cooks up really easy, like 20-30 minutes as a quick weeknight dish. And I love it. I think it's great. It's nice with a little filet powder on it too, which is actually powdered sassafras leaves, which was, I don't know, I think that's primarily Louisiana. I don't know how widely used that is. One of the other ones I put in here was an okra Creole. And I don't know if you've looked in the farmer's market lately, but okra is definitely in season right now, and it's so good. I know some people find it a little bit odd just because it does have that mucilus sort of property, but that converts into some sugars when it cooks. So the trick with okra, you cut it and it'll release some of that onto the cutting board, but you cook it sort of at a high heat in a little bit of oil, and you stir it frequently, and it can take 10-15 minutes, but it starts to break down and becomes the word my mom always used was ropey. It's not as ropey as it had been, and that's when you know that it's really cooked down enough that you can start adding in your onions, tomato, corn, and it's again, it's a quick, easy dish, great over rice, or you could just have it as a side by itself without something under it. Um, and if you really don't like okra, though I encourage you to try okra, you can do the same thing with zucchini. You just don't have to cook it as long before you start. So it's just like zucchini, tomatoes, and corn. And you can use canned tomatoes and frozen corn, or if it's all there in the market looking good, get it all fresh.
Carter, will you put that in the recipe book?
Yes.
There.
Page 15, I believe. Um, and then, Leanne, since you had asked, I haven't cooked this one, so I can't attest to it, but I found my mom's notes in here. There's a shrimp etouffee that I put
Wow.
in. I figured a shrimp would be easier for people up here than crawfish, so just to find. And the main difference between a shrimp etouffee and a crawfish etouffee is crawfish has got a lot more fat to it than shrimp does. So there's some changing in the proportions of what fats you add and when you're making your roux. And for the shrimp etouffee, you're usually going for a darker roux than you would for a crawfish one. You'd want more closer to like a a light brown or a peanut butter roux, as opposed to a dark brown or a chocolate roux. So
Do you have a recipe for just a plain roux, or do you define roux in the recipe?
no, because you cook and you start, you make a roux. Um,
Yeah, I hear that. It's like get the blue bowl.
but yeah, no. So I mean, a roux it's a basic traditional French cooking technique, and you probably use it in other things without sort of calling it that. But it's really almost equal parts of a fat. You know, can be just oil, could be butter, could be like a bacon grease or some other sort of a fat, and flour. And you just sort of want to have it at a medium high heat. You want to stir it constantly, just to sort of make sure that the flour doesn't burn or your fat doesn't burn if it's something like butter that can burn like that. And as it cooks, it's sort of, you'll see it takes on a little bit of a different color. And people will talk about having, a blanc roux. It's a white one, very lightly cooked, all the way up to a chocolate roux, which is a really dark one. And it just adds that extra layer of flavor and acts as a thickening agent in it. So particularly for like a gumbo or something, that can be an important part of the thickening of it.
Becky. Thanks.
I just wanted to say crawfish, is it seasonal? The only time I ever see it is like in the spring or early summer. Whole Foods will often have it, but it's not like you can just buy crawfish whenever you feel like it, is it? I've never.
So I mean, it's like crabs up here. There definitely is a bit of a season where you find it more fresh than
Yeah.
others. A lot of crawfish. Like there are people who grow rice up in sort of central and southwestern Louisiana, and they flood the rice paddies, and then they'll put crawfish in, and the crawfish can help sort of like control some of the things in there, and you've got a double harvest where you can harvest the crawfish and you can harvest the rice. So
Oh, wow. Next time you go home, take me with you. We'll do that.
Right.
I want to put in another plug for okra. It's fabulous. And if you need a thickener for soup, okra's your man. It's just really terrific.
And one other really good way for okra. Sorry, I see, Susan, you're not feeling okra. You can take them, just like spritz a little olive oil on them or roll them olive oil, throw them on the grill, and they'll grill up. You'll get a nice little char on it. Put salt and lemon on it. It's fantastic. And pickle okra makes a Bloody Mary great. So
Yeah, and that has a lot of salt. Like, I mean, and I pickle on occasion too. I pickle turnips because you mentioned you didn't like turnips that much. So
Yeah.
that's my comeback on that. But I'm going to give okra another chance. But yeah, salt and lemon, they can do a lot of wonders for a lot of things. Yep.
they can. And then just one final one that I threw in here because it's a family favorite. And Loretta, when you were sort of specking out the idea for this session and thinking about how foods bring people together, there was, long before TikTok made feta pasta popular during COVID, back in the early 90s, one of the first things I sort of discovered on the internet was this book of recipes by a woman called Laurie Koch. And she had, her mother-in-law was over from Turkey and had been living with them for a while and was headed back. And she sat down and captured all these recipes from her, most of them soups. So I can't find it online anymore unless I'm looking like in archive.org, but there was a booklet she put together called The Soups of Mahai Koch, and it's a K-O-C with a cedilla. And there's a one in here for a orzo soup that it's on page 6. My kids, it's still, one of their go-to comfort foods. And it's just a super simple, vegetable oil, tomato paste, a can of diced tomatoes, let it sort of cook down a bit, and then about equal parts of a vegetable bouillon and water. And then you throw in the orzo, or you could use like broken up vermicelli or Israeli couscous. And let it cook, it soaks it up, and it's kind of, it's still a little soupy, but it's getting a little bit firmer. and then like parsley, mint, and lemon juice added at the end. If it sits or you have any leftovers for some reason, it becomes like a very solid sort of mass, which is still tasty too. But but it's just one that my kids love, and I just love the sort of the history of it, how it, was this person who was trying to gather family recipes and make them available. Karen, I see your question about a gumbo recipe. I've not found a vegetarian gumbo recipe I'm happy with, so I can look and maybe grab one from one of these river roads or something and throw it in. But like the shrimp etouffee, I'm not going to attest to knowing that it's good. I mean, it'll be good, but
That's great. Yes, comfort foods.
Since we're all talking about food, we should take note of the passing of Marion Burroughs this week. She was 92, 93, 92. And she lived in Bethesda. I didn't realize that. And had once was the food person for the Washington Post before she went on to the New York Times, and great acclaim in all she did. She's a fabulous person. There's a great obituary in Friday's paper about her. You should take a read if you have a chance.
thank you.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. So let me just throw out, let's see, an idea. Unless anybody else has anything, I don't want to stop anyone if you have something to share.
Oh, hello, this is
Yeah.
Bonnie McClellan. I have a recipe in the scent called, it's clam chowder a la Sarpi. And Sarpi is the name of my husband's mother. Their last name was Sarpola, and they were Finns, our Finns, on the West Coast. And a lot of people, when they're eating clam chowder, have the East Coast tomato base. This one is cream based. It's very simple. The clams are from a can, the clam juice is from a bottle. So it's just one of the first things that she gave us right after we were married, and it's a favorite at our house. It does have a lot of bacon in it if you don't do bacon. I suppose you could do it without. I would do something then to make it a little smoky. Would do that. What I didn't put in was what we call Auntie Vicky's Tasty Salad. And that has a history. My sister and my father were very close, and so he would never, ever do anything that would offend her if he could. And so she presented him with, it's a taco salad of sorts. And when she said, "Dad, do you like it?" And he said, tasty. So it became Auntie Vicky's Tasty Salad, and it's a favorite in the whole family. So it is basically lettuce, whatever kind you like. I can put it in. It's got fresh tomatoes. It has canned beans, could be chili beans, could be other, more likely pinto beans or red beans. But then you also have to have a bag of Doritos corn chips. And it's important that they're Doritos corn chips, the old-fashioned corn chips. You crunch those up just before you serve it. And then you have to have a large bottle of Catalina dressing. And then there's about half a pound of grated cheese in there. So you've got cheese and beans, tomatoes, and anything else you like, olives, you like green peppers, whatever you like in there. But it's the tortilla chips, the corn chips, soaking up the Catalina that gives it its distinctive personality. You'll either love it or you won't like it. I don't know, but I can throw it in there. It is Auntie Vicky's Tasty Salad.
Sound tasty. Sounds great. So let's see. So think about like a spice and that something that you might be able to use for that spice. And if you want, I can start. And I'm going to say Old Bay. Old Bay. Anybody familiar with Old Bay? Okay, yeah. Oh yeah. So I'm from Baltimore, and we used to be able to. Well, they're still available. Coddies, which were little codfish cakes, and at the time they had fish in them. And nowadays you can buy them vegetarian. So they're little potato, it's made with potato. They use Old Bay, and I don't have a recipe for it, unfortunately. So I know my sisters just love coddies. So whenever I'm in Baltimore and I know I'm going to see my sisters, I always try to buy some because I know for them it's definitely comfort food. Coddies are fun. They used to be sold at the fountain shops right on the counter, and you could buy them for like 15 cents with 2 crackers and mustard. So it's something that's fried, and it's potato, maybe some cracker crumbs or something like that. And they still sell them, Karen. Oh, thank you. At the Lexington Market in Baltimore. Yes, thank you so much. They also sell them at the Lenny's Deli in Owings Mills. They sell them there. They also sell them, and they're vegetarian, the ones at Lenny's, so they're vegetarian. So anyway, whenever I can, I'll try to get those when I know I'm getting together with my sisters, because I just know it's a real special thing. They're no longer 15 cents each. But sometimes we want to experiment with how it's made. So I can pass it over to anybody else who wants to come up with a food that uses a certain spice that they're familiar with. I know we mentioned a lot of different spices. Does anybody have one that they want to work to do? How about cardamom? Anyone? Cardamom.
One for cardamom. It's coffee. I mean, and it's from, I'm going to forget the name of the restaurant downtown on N Street that Joan Baez used to go to. It's in Washington. I can't remember the name of the restaurant. It's an old restaurant. It's got a big outdoor seated area, and it's a little pricey, and it's got a tiny bar. But their coffee has cardamom, crushed cardamom seeds in it. And for many years when I make coffee, I make coffee in a coffee pot, but you just take the cardamom beans and crush them and put them on top of the coffee, and it comes out tasting just like their coffee, and so good.
Sounds interesting. Something I love coffee. I'd love to try that.
Is it the Iron Gate restaurant you're thinking of?
Across the street from the Iron Gate.
Okay.
The Tabard
Yes.
Inn.
The Tabard Inn.
Tabard Inn.
Thank you.
Their
Yes.
garden is spectacular.
Wonderful.
For Sunday brunch and stuff.
Yes.
And the
Yes.
Iron Gate is terrific again. It just, that's a cozy place on a rainy day. They've got that big fireplace, and that's
Yeah,
wonderful.
they're
Plus,
both wonderful restaurants.
yeah, they are.
Sounds great.
But the coffee is fabulous. And I've never had cardamom. I suspect it's Middle Eastern,
It is.
Yeah.
In Middle Eastern countries, you always get cardamom coffee. And
Right.
cardamom, they put it in everything. It's an
Right.
interesting, unusual kind of taste.
Mhm.
And Carter, you use chicory, right? Don't they put chicory in Louisiana coffee?
Yeah, I mean, chicory, it originally was like an extender, but coffee and chicory is still something that you can get everywhere down there.
And with beignets, of course.
Oh, well, yeah. I mean,
Of course.
we have a cafe au lait with that. So
Right.
You're knee deep in powdered sugar, though. There, it's just
that's part of it. You never want to sneeze when you're about to bite.
indeed.
We've got some great pictures of my kids when they were down there visiting my parents, going for beignets, and it's just like sugar from head to toe.
Yeah.
I have another recipe, spice. It is Chinese 5-spice, which I'm going to forget who. I think this comes from, wait, I'll have to go and get the cookbook. It's from a chef in Somerville, Massachusetts, and it is, you use it on whole chicken, basically you just spread it all over the skin of the whole chicken. And he says in the notes to the chicken roasting recipe that this is the closest that he's been able to come to Thai street food. It comes the closest to that taste. So it's Chinese 5-spice. So for a while I was using it on everything until people told me to stop. Because it's got all sorts of wonderful anise and all sorts of wonderful spices in it. So
Frank's Red Hot sauce was very upset with you because I think that's their saying. I put that on everything.
right. I'm going to get the cookbook so that you know what the cookbook is.
I don't have a spice, but I have a flavoring. I use sesame oil.
Oh man. Oh, can I just interrupt to say this
Yeah.
is it? Oh, it's backwards, but it's big flavors from the hot sun.
Not backwards for us.
Okay. Go, it's backwards on mine. Well, anyway, that's it.
Very nice.
That's a setting you can do for Zoom about mirroring it or not,
Yeah, there is.
video.
Hmm. So who was talking about a flavoring?
Oh, I just said about I use sesame oil.
Yes.
Quite a bit, turns my food kind of Korean. If I'm eating tofu by itself, I'll sprinkle shoyu and sesame oil on it. Use sesame oil in my stir fries. My chicken, Korean chicken wing recipe has sesame oil. It's a really beautiful flavor, like the Chinese 5-spice, which is
Yeah.
a really delicious flavor.
You make sesame noodles, Linda?
I probably have.
It's sort of spaghetti with,
Yeah,
but you serve it at room temperature and you sprinkle sesame seeds on it and stuff, and it's divine.
I learned from my son actually, who took just spaghetti noodles and he
Yeah.
put the, Asian sauce on it. And I never knew you could do that with spaghetti noodles. It was delicious.
Yep.
Yeah.
Sweet chili sauce is another kind of East Asian option that you can use, especially on tofu. I've noticed like that it gives it a nice flavor because you mentioned the Korean wings. So yeah, that sweet chili sauce is often a good option too.
That is, yeah. Yeah.
Man, I'm just having a cod fillet for dinner. That sounds so boring after this. I have one little
Use
bird-
sesame oil on it. Use sesame oil on it.
What?
Use sesame oil on it.
Well, true. Actually, the recipe is with cherry tomatoes and white wine, and I'm going to use Israeli couscous. It calls for orzo and stuff, but cod is boring, so you have to do something to jazz it up.
Cool.
Of jazzing it up, I want to make sure that you see what Karen Brown put in about the steel cut oats with the cardamom,
Ooh, look at that.
seeds, cinnamon, red chili flakes, black mustard seeds, salt, pepper. And before you think it's too much, she also adds a little bit of warm in oil.
Warm it in oil, yeah.
Oh, you warm it in oil for a minute or two, and then the oats, and then water. She also adds raisins, currants, or dried cherries, and I'm sure it is delicious. Wow.
Wow.
Little butter.
Can we create that and throw that in the cookbook? Is Karen still on? Karen, can we use it?
Absolutely. It sounds a bit over the top for breakfast, but it's so good. If you have a taste for Indian spices,
Sounds great.
yeah, it's really delicious, and it stays with you, in the winter months.
Yeah. Cool.
That is cool. One question about the sesame oil. Linda, you may be able to answer this. Is it true that you don't really cook with it, but you add it after your stir fry is cooked? Is that true?
That's what I do.
Right.
Yeah, it's a flavoring.
Mm.
I'm no oil expert. I don't think it's meant for like actually frying stuff or sautéing stuff. It's a flavoring.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Did someone say they use that on tofu?
Tofu.
Oh yeah.
And is that uncooked tofu or baked tofu or?
I eat tofu uncooked, cooked, whatever. I like to just cut up the block and well, put shoyu, which is soy sauce, shoyu and sesame oil, and finely cut up green onions. And it just takes on those flavors. But you can saute it, bake it, you can do all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, I've been getting the blocks from Glut and cutting them up a little on the thick side and just oiling a glass pan. Well, I guess you could use any. I have the 9 by 11, 12. I don't know. Anyway, the glass baking pans. Put oil in the bottom, put those on top, and then pour marinade over it. And I just throw stuff together. I'm still experimenting with what works. Some soy sauce, a few different vinegars, maybe some lemon juice, maybe a little water. Throw it all together and put it over it, and then wait for a while and turn it over, wait for a while, and then just bake it in that. Yeah, so baked tofu, and then it freezes nicely. So, but I guess that's something people just know how to do. Not really a recipe, I guess. So.
Sounds good.
Anyone else want to talk about a spice? How about?
I'm curious about cumin. I have some in my
Ooh.
spice cabinet, but I'm not really quite sure how to use it. Occasionally I've added it a little to things, but
I use cumin in tons of stuff. It goes well with beans, garbanzo or pintos, things like that. I'll use it in gosh, just see that's like one of my go-tos. It ends up in most everything. A lot of Middle Eastern sort of source dishes, mushadar, like the lentils and rice with fried onions that you get in a lot of the Middle East. That uses cumin usually. It's usually a mix when I'm making a curry. If I'm putting together my own curry powder, it's part of that base, or sometimes there's just extra of it that gets thrown in. But it does have a kind of earthy flavor. So it complements things like beans well, onions.
It's also a main ingredient in many Mexican, Latin American dishes.
Mhm.
And when I'm making just a basic soup and I want to turn it toward Spanish, I always add cumin. That changes the tomato flavor. It's very nice with tomato.
Wow, this is also amazing. I have all these papers. I've written all of these things. I'll be cooking for the next year with it.
And you didn't even get all of the recipes off the book, and that's still available to you.
I haven't got any of them yet. I'm going to get the book.
Well, some of the ones that have been talked about are in the book. So
Right.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Anyway, we are getting close to the end of the hour and a half. So, but does anybody have another flavor, another recipe, something else?
Oh,
So I
please
could-
don't give me another
go ahead.
recipe.
Oh,
I
no,
thought you-
well, I don't. I could throw something out there. I'm not an expert at it, but I've played with the spice. It's actually a spice mix, so it's many spices all together. But you can it's easier sometimes to get it as it is and not worry about adding all the proportions of these various spices. But it's called Berberi spice, and this is kind of a staple of Ethiopian food. And from there, you can start making kind of your beef tips and various other things. So you can buy a whole big bag on Amazon, and it's very easy in that regard. So I'm throwing that out there in case you want to kind of experiment with cooking Ethiopian food.
It's called Buri. Spell it.
It's Berberi. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that properly, but it's Berbere. And if you just look, Google that in Amazon, you can find that spice mix all in one.
Right.
Usually on the hot side.
It is.
Yes,
But-
and you can always, with obviously with hot food, you can always, temper it with anything kind of dairy, which means butter in many cases, or a ghee, which is clarified butter.
Yeah,
Or grain.
right. Well, very cool. Loretta, you want to say the sayonara here?
I just was going to say, I learned so much from all of you. This has been so much fun. And I really, really appreciate it, that it was so well received, and really delighted that you invited me to do this. And so I just want to thank you, and meeting new people, which I love since I am new in the area. It'll be a year. So,
And are
Thank
you
you,
in Hyattsville?
Loretta. This is fabulous.
University Park, yeah.
University.
Well, we're right across the street from the Hyattsville Library, so I love that. Love that.
Right.
Thank you, maybe. Thank you.
Thank you.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah, well,